Welcome everyone. Call this meeting to order and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll start with roll call to my left.
Steve Major.
Danica Nelson.
Anders North.
Martha Brown.
Paul Rosenberg.
And on the phone,
Marilyn Harrell.
and Hannah Zura. Everyone's present. Welcome everyone. Thank you all for joining us tonight for our meeting. It's purely an advisory panel. The Lolo Community Council strives to promote the interests and welfare of the citizens of Lolo by acting as a liaison between the community and the Missoula Board of County Commissioners. At each meeting, we will provide the opportunity for public comment on both agenda and non-agenda items. The public comment period for items not on the agenda is at the end of the meeting. The council will not discuss or take action on non-agenda items until a future meeting, if they choose to do so. Public comment on items that are on the agenda may be given during the public comment period after approval of minutes and/or during discussion after the agenda item has been presented. We ask you keep your comments respectful and limited to 3 minutes. We appreciate your attendance and participation. So the next item is reading and approval of minutes. Council, I believe you all received the minutes. This time I would welcome a motion to approve them.
I move to approve the minutes. I'll second that.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
All right.
Were they great minutes or what? Come on.
And then Marta, Anders abstained for that vote.
Yes.
Yep. All right, now it's time for public comment on agenda items, and there will also be an opportunity later. Any public comment? Okay. Communications and reports. I did have a communication that didn't make it onto the agenda. The commissioners are inviting 2 community council members, and they sent out an email to every one of us to spend the day with them as a ride-along. And so they have asked the council members to decide amongst us which 2 of us may be interested in doing that. So I thought I would just open that up here real quick to see if anyone had interest, because I don't think they want all 7. Anybody? Steve, perfect. Anybody else?
I'll go.
All right, Steve and Marta, I know you guys both received the email with the times available. Is that, did you receive that?
I did receive it. I don't know when they were.
Okay.
But I'll
Do you
try
want?
to schedule to make sure it happens.
Okay,
Do you have it in front of you on when they were going to do Lolo?
I can pull it up if we'd like to. Yeah, would that make sense for you guys to schedule it now, or do you want to do it amongst yourselves and communicate with commissioners? I'm good either way.
Let's get in the minutes.
Perfect.
Let's do it now.
I like it. Let me pull that up. Pardon me that I didn't have this
Lolo
already.
ride-along.
Unless somebody else has it quick. Oh, no, I found it. Okay, here we go. We've got Tuesday, June 18th, June 19th, June 20th, July 18th. There's a lot of dates. Maybe.
Are there specific times?
It's for the whole day, 8:30 to 4.
Well,
June 18th? You good on Tuesday?
yeah.
Tuesday's my day.
Yep.
Awesome.
All right.
Love it.
So that's 8:30 to 4:30?
8:30 to 4:30, and I will also just send an email to the commissioners.
Sure.
June 18th. I'm excited to hear how that goes.
We'll make sure they work.
Okay.
Get them to buy your lunch. I bet they're busy.
All right, next item.
Give me lunch.
We received our Missoula County News recap. The primary election, obviously that was already held on June 4th. Also, they asked us to visit Missoula County Voice to ask any questions we may have on the local government review study, but that was on the ballot, so hopefully folks already did that. We could also visit MissoulaCountyVoice.com and follow the Missoula County Fiscal Year 2025 budget page. And that's where you can stay up to date on engagement opportunities around the Missoula County budget. If you visit MissoulaCountyVoice.com, you can learn more and let them know your thoughts or questions on the use variance request. to expand the Western Materials gravel operation south of Lolo. I do know the next hearing on that is June 20th, the public hearing on that. And as always, you can find the most recent county news at missoula.co/news. You can also go to missoulacounty.us/news/e-notification and choose weekly newsletter to receive the most up-to-date Missoula County news straight to your inbox every Monday. Next communication we received was the Commissioner's resolution that the 2024 Lolo Community Council election was canceled, that Hannah Zuraf, Marilyn Hatch, and Marta Brown will be elected by acclamation for a 3-year term as members to the Lolo Community Council. Next item, we received a communication from Shane Stack, the Missoula County Chief Public Works Officer. He sent a letter to MDT in response to the speed study on Highway 93. He also included the letter that we had drafted from the Community Council. Bob Boson with MDT acknowledged receipt of the letter and, quote, said, "Thanks for sharing this correspondence. MDT appreciates the relationship with Missoula County and will continue to work with the county to make decisions that best serve all users." Next communication was also an email from Shane Stack informing us that the sidewalk project on Lewis and Clark Lane and Farm Lane was bid, and it will be awarded if it hasn't been already. 3RL was the low bidder, and they plan to start on June 17th. Missoula County will be there the week of June 10th to complete some fence removal and curb and gutter removal and repair in advance of 3RL beginning sidewalk installation. Shane believes it has a 35-day working contract and should be complete before school starts in the fall. The low bid, if anyone was interested, is $700,000. And now we'll move on to the treasury report. Marilyn.
Okay, May statement arrived, of course. No checks written, no deposits made. $3 for the paid first statement fee with a balance that ended in $594.31.
Okay. And mail received.
So we got a political flyer and a transportation newsletter that we usually get. So that's it. Nobody really did read. I mean, I read it, but I don't remember what was in it. So that's it.
Okay. Thanks, Marilyn. All right, I guess we'll move on to committee and special reports. Lolo School, I don't see Dale here, and I didn't receive an email from him. I did receive a message from Deputy Chief Corey Horsens, who is traveling for training right now, and unfortunately will not be able to make it tonight. He did mention, though, if anyone has any questions, always feel free to contact him, and I'm happy to give out his contact information as well for anyone that doesn't have that. Community Watch. Do we have anyone from Community Watch here?
Randy's out of town.
Okay. And Community Center. Eileen is here.
I know Community Center and Eileen recently upgraded the video switch to 8K, so laptops will plug in directly without me having to mess around in the rack anymore.
Oh, perfect. So I'm going to need to, yes, get with you to figure that out. Okay, perfect. Okay, on to Woodman School. Principal John Martin.
Good evening, everyone. So we've completed the school year, it's summer vacation now. Some of the things that happened the last couple months of school, we sent a team to the County Quiz Bowl competition in Missoula, and we had 6 students compete in that. So that was a first for Woodman School. They had never competed in that competition before. So a great opportunity for students. We had a plethora of field trips at the end of the year. Kindergarten through 2nd grade went to Turner Farms in Fort Missoula. 3rd through 5th grade went to Lee Metcalf Wildlife Refuge as part of our work with the Natural History Museum out of Missoula. We had a spring concert on May 22nd. We all went down to Lake Como to take a hike and enjoy the lake on May 23rd. We had our field day on May 29th, and we had our 8th grade graduation May 30th. So we just completed last week our summer program week, and our focus was the history of Butte, mining and rocks and minerals. And we also had a focus on cooking in a cooking class with the multicultural heritage of Butte and the immigrants there. So it was a great week. We did a lot of ELA, English instruction, as well as science, and then we took a field trip to Butte for a really long day. We didn't get back till about 6 p.m., but we hit the World Museum of Mining, the Berkeley Pit, and Montana Tech, and the museum there. And students had a great time. And we also have a summer program week coming up August 19th through 22nd, kind of a jump start into the school year before we begin. And that focus will be nature, and we're bringing in a guest author, Sneed Collard, who's going to be an author in residence next year at Woodman, and come out several times throughout the year teaching writing workshops. And he's also going to do a field trip with bird watching with the students in August for that summer program week. So we're excited about that. Next school year, we've secured grant money to have the Missoula Children's Theater come out to Woodman and do a whole play with the students. So we're excited to have that happen. It hasn't happened in quite a few years at Woodman. Unfortunately, we did not pass our levy for the upcoming year. We put out a levy to the community for $20,000. And unfortunately, because of that, we had to have layoffs of staff because we were looking at a $40,000 deficit. But with that, we've kind of restructured and are ready for next year. Operations, we've got a lot of projects going on. I had DNRC come out and do a fire mitigation survey of the property and make recommendations there. We're getting a new HVAC system put into Building 2. A lot of our buildings are quite old, and we're continuing to update them to make sure that they are ready for students. We're also remodeling 2 of the bathrooms in Building 2. And a lot of these things haven't been remodeled for quite some time. Building 2 is from 1959. So the bathrooms definitely need a remodel. We had some donated work from community members to grade our parking lot, so it's looking much better. And the brand new playground that we got a grant for is all installed and done. So we're excited about that. Out-of-district enrollment ended June 10th. We did accept a few out-of-district students, but because of a reduction of amount of teachers, we actually are full for out-of-district students for the upcoming year. But we're really looking forward to all the exciting things next year, and I'll welcome any questions anyone may have.
Hey, everyone.
Yes.
Didn't I see the students out picking up garbage on a really rainy day along the highway? Up
You
there?
did.
Oh, boy,
You
they're
did.
really tough.
They toughed it out. We had rescheduled many times, and we decided to go for it that day, even though it was a bit rainy. Yeah, weather doesn't really cooperate. Our Lake Como trip, we actually had to cancel that once because of rain, and we got lucky and rescheduled, and it was really nice that morning, but it actually started pouring rain and thunder and lightning in the afternoon, but we got out of there before then, so.
Well, I really enjoyed seeing those kids out working in the rain. That's a good thing.
Yeah,
It's good for them.
thank you. And thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
So curious, what did DNRC say in their report about fire mitigation?
Yeah, so we don't have a huge amount of property, but we do have a wooded area behind the school, and they just really focused on getting rid of a lot of the low brush behind there. They also recommended thinning the trees and taking out a few trees closer to the building, and they also recommended, we have a rock barrier around most of the buildings, but one building on one side doesn't have that, so they recommended removing the sod next to that building and putting in the rock barrier. So they said overall we were in pretty good shape, but had those few recommendations. So it was quite interesting. You get to walk around with them, and they sent out 3 people and have all this paperwork going on.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, at this point, does any council member have any adjustments to the order of the agenda? Oh, I'm sorry, Gene. Oh my gosh, mosquito board. Thank you guys.
So, mosquito season has started. We were going to do a PowerPoint tonight, but we looked at the equipment and realized we had no idea how to set it up. So here's what you get to do, Devin. Basically, the traps have been put in place. They'll be put out Monday night, collected Tuesday. So today was the first day. They found over 300 mosquitoes in the trap down by the river and 12 in the trap in my backyard. So it's, we're going to do our own counting on Culex this year and the different varieties. We've got all of our Alticid and put in place. We're going to be spraying only as needed. It's going to probably be a pretty light year because we do not have the river coming up. They're running pretty low and slow. The biggest issue is going to be pooling of water in low-lying places, pop cans, etc., cleaning up your backyards. Those have always been a problem. Last year we had one Culex, which is the one that carries West Nile disease, and that happened to be in my backyard. I don't know how it got there. Somebody imported it, I decided. So basically that's where we're at on that. The newest thing is we're going to start, we're working with, oh God, I can't think of the name of it, a business in Missoula that is using mycelium as a mosquito attractant in traps. And because it is a type of fungus, it gives off CO2, and mosquitoes thrive on CO2. And so the new study is to see if these work or don't work. And if they do, we'll probably invest in more down the road. But right now, it's a study and it'll be free. And we're also going, Hannah and Lane are going to also keep track of the mosquitoes they find and figure out what variety they are. We had 26 variety last year, of which 3 were imports from southern states. So came in cars or whatever, probably not permanent residents. So we'll give you a PowerPoint of how to do it next time.
Any questions for Jean? Okay. I apologize for that.
No
Moving
problem.
right ahead. Okay, now anybody have any adjustments? No? Okay, we'll move on to our unfinished business. First is general development transportation discussion. And this is our standing agenda item to discuss ongoing community safety and awareness concerns regarding development and transportation along US Highway 93. So as mentioned, the commissioners did discuss the letter that we sent to them at their May 20th Public Works meeting. What was interesting at that meeting, also in attendance, was the Missoula Rural Fire Department, who also corroborated the need for reduced speeds. So that was nice, you know, that they attended that and also said, yes, we would sign on to that letter and say that we would also like to see reduced speeds. They noted that the increase in accidents and the intersection of Old Highway 93 is an area that is definitely in need of a signal, is one thing that they mentioned. So,
Where was that, sorry?
the intersection of Old Highway 93 and 93 is where the Missoula Rural Fire Department, like, they said that they get a lot of calls for accidents out in that area and would like to see a signal there. And then they just asked, you know, the community, what the community felt, and so I just reiterated our discussion from our May meeting. Yeah.
Danica, so since you talked about 93, was there any discussion about a roundabout? Did you hear anything about a roundabout at that intersection?
Not specifically at that intersection, but because we had made mention, and the speed study had made mention of some traffic calming measures, in addition to just a reduced speed, the commissioners did ask Shane, what does that involve? What exactly would a traffic calming measure look like? And he mentioned several things, you know, like narrowing the roadway as a possibility, or putting in a chicane, kind of like they have going into Victor, where there's a big, huge, wide median, you have to kind of curve around it. But Shane also did mention that, you know, if they looked at doing something at an intersection specifically, that a roundabout would be an option versus a signal where the traffic would just get backed up and it might kind of cause more problems. And a roundabout would allow traffic, I guess, to flow better. So.
Because the only reason I asked the question is because, as you mentioned with the Victor Crossing, it caused quite a bit of controversy.
Yeah.
And I hope everybody kind of pays attention to what's going on with that intersection, because in my estimation, looking at what MDT has in mind, I don't think they're going to look at a traffic light there, but that is a intersection of major concern for the department. So we just might want to keep our eyes open and ears and see what's going on there. Pay attention.
Yeah, and so that's a good segue into that corridor study. And so in our letter to the commissioners, we didn't specifically ask for anything, any specific type of traffic calming measure, because we knew this other corridor study was ongoing. Kind of wanted to see what comes out of that. I did reach out to them to find out when the update will come on that corridor study, and they mentioned the next open house is scheduled for June 25th. And at that meeting, and I would imagine we'll hear more about that, as that gets closer. If not, I will make sure to pester them so that we're included. But I anticipate at that meeting they're going to give their recommendations on what they found in the study and what kind of safety measures that they recommend MDT implements.
What on that?
In terms of the corridor study, because I'm involved with the bike trail, I'm involved with way too much, but because of what we're doing with the bike trail and the improvements on that, they left the bikes out of the corridor study because they didn't think we were part of the highway. Now we're back into it. But we've gotten a lot of questions either on our webpage or with phone calls to members saying, what is going on and when is that meeting? And so we need to let Shane or Bob know that needs to be well advertised now.
Okay.
Because somebody just asked me about that this afternoon.
Okay.
So that's really important. And Willis, in terms of the roundabout, the stuff that was on the website was not thought through when they put it on. And I don't know if they redesigned it, but I told them they needed to redesign that roundabout because a single lane roundabout is not safe for this highway. And so it started all sorts of issues,
So on that, on the making it well known, I heard at least a 30-second spot driving down to Lolo this afternoon about the meeting on June 25th. It's at least 3 hours. There's not an agenda. You just show up. It's at Lolo School. So it is being advertised and it's out there. I wish I had paid a little more attention so I could tell you what times it was, but I think it's 4 to 7, and I also think it's earlier in the day as well. So a couple different times on the 25th, where they just want people to come by and, I guess, look at their placards and talk.
And I'll make sure we get that on our Lolo Community Facebook page too, for anybody that checks that.
As a side note, are they still planning on resurfacing 93 this year?
You guys are just perfect about segueing into the next topic. Yes, that was the next thing that I attended the pre-construction meeting for that project. And it sounds like construction is scheduled to begin in July as early as the 8th for that project. Still don't have a hard date yet on that, but that's tentatively July 8th is what we're looking at for that one.
So I hate to keep on this highway thing, but as you all know, just south of town, you see the warning wildlife crossing ahead. And at our last Environmental Quality Council meeting, which is one of our animal committee meetings, I did ask Dwayne Cayley, who is basically head of the road system, management of the road system for MDT, about animal crossings, underground animal crossings, and he expressed a pretty no, that's not something that will fit because of the water conditions in the area, the high water table and the like, but that is something maybe for further discussion. But with the number of elk that are in that area, and I don't see any future where that's going to dwindle or diminish. In fact, the numbers could increase. It might be something that we kind of keep in mind somewhere down the line as they go about this traffic study process. I see some difficult situations ahead, I know, for travelers. So anyway,
Yeah,
you and
that's,
I know that,
yeah, and we did include that in our letter to MDT, that, in response to that speed study that they did, we included the statistic that 71% of the crashes in that stretch from Lolo to Florence are because of wildlife vehicle collisions. So we did mention that to MDT just to set the groundwork, and I do know that in that corridor study, they've told me anyway that they're looking into wildlife crossings as an option, so we'll see what comes out of that. I'm curious to see what they say.
The other one is with the wildlife crossings. When we met with Bob Bosson about being part of the team, it was still on the table. He said everything is on the table, including any suggestions that the community would have, etc. So it's really, really important that we be involved and make your feelings well known. The other one is that several of the bridges going down the valley, Elk won't use the bridges. They only want the overpass or the highway because of they're so big. But several of the bridges already have animal crossings on them. However, because of high water, build-up during flood season, etc., they haven't been cleared or cleaned in some time. So that's another thing that the highway department is looking at. And when we were talking about the bicycle lane and stuff, they're going to resurface the bicycle lane and take out all the major, hopefully all the major problems. And by the way, that's a 7-year battle that we've been at with them. So, but at that time they were talking about, yes, also cleaning up underneath the bridges as well as fixing the lips of the bridges where if you're walking, there's a separation because of soil drops. So it's, I think it's like, don't limit yourself to what you think they want to know. Tell them what you would like to see. It would be the best way to do it.
Thank you.
I don't know how much an animal bridge would cost, but can we use one to get the kids on the other side of the highway for school?
That would be a great idea, doing both at once, right?
I think when we looked at that the first year, it was $50,000, and that was in 1985.
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
I got two things. You're going to have to find, somehow you're going to have to get easement for fencing, and that's probably not going to work. So I don't know how you're going to put anything in for to guide the elk. But the other issue I have, and it's bothered me for quite a while, bike path. I live up Mormon, and when you come down to get on the highway, you not only have to try and get on the highway, but you have to try and avoid bicycles that are darting across Mormon that don't stop. Are they supposed to stop, or should there be stop signs there?
What we're doing is putting in bollards, which are mileage bollards between Missoula and Angler's Roost. And there will be intersections that will have either, like coming out of Carlton Creek, because if it's a blind, it's like watch for bicycles coming in, and then we'll have install stop signs for the cyclists. And we've had a lively discussion on that at the bike board, or the Bitterroot Trail Preservation Alliance board meeting, but those are on order, yeah.
Yeah, that Mormon it's really dangerous.
Oh, I know.
There's the trailers there, and you can't see
Yeah.
the people that are coming from one direction, and then the other direction there's a tree, so.
Yeah. And if you know of any other intersections like that, because there's that one, there's Trader Brothers, there's Carlton Creek, there's County Road, those are the 4 that I definitely know of. Let me know, I'll put them on the list because we're ordering those signs.
Will they actually stop, fill the stop signs?
They should, but I don't know. Well, it's the other problem is, I don't know who's going to enforce it. That's the other issue. But at least it's a warning. And if they get hit, because they ran a stop sign,
If they get hit, it's the car's fault.
it's their fault. No, it's the bicyclist's fault. If he gets hit.
They're treated as
it's-
traffic, so if
They
there's a
treat
stop
it-
sign, they're gonna use it.
Bicycles are treated as traffic vehicles.
They don't think that.
No, I know, but
They don't.
That way. The other thing I really like to say something about is the way people speed through town, beginning
Oh, yeah.
where it slows down all the way past where I live. It's almost impossible to get out on that highway, and people are all going too fast. I'm going the speed limit or less because I'm an old crotchety old fart, you know, and so I go slow and try and slow people down. Everybody's zooming by.
Yeah.
Everybody that drives is zooming.
Semis.
But they ought to get some cops out here
Yeah.
to enforce it.
We don't have enough.
Thank you. Any other public comments on that?
But really, just, I'm on the Bitterroot Trail Board, and if you go to our website, my phone number's there, just give me a ring. For anything that you think that the trails need. And we do
Marilyn,
have a new thing called a car from California, or from China, that goes 25 miles an hour, is 4 feet wide, has one driver, no passengers, and thinks it is allowed to ride in the bike lanes and on the sidewalk. So that's going to be an interesting one to watch in Missoula.
Marilyn, I thought I heard maybe at the beginning of this discussion you had a question?
No, it was way back, Devin Jackson said something, and you said you would have to get with him on it, and I didn't quite hear what he was saying.
Oh,
Kind of thing.
yes, that they got some new, here at the Lolo Community Center, they got some new audiovisual equipment. So it will be easier, yeah, it will be easier to plug in. So I'll make sure that I know how we do that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, next item in unfinished business, we had a request for more clarity on council member appointment process from Pat Moore. I reached out to the county. Hopefully I got some information. I'll let you know what they let me know, and we'll see if we'll go from there. So
I think that Carla said that they were going to announce it 15th or 25th or something of June.
of the appointees.
She was at the meeting too, so.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what I understand from what the county told me the process is, they post the vacancy for 30 days. If we have a vacancy on the council, once the vacancy is noticed, it is shared with the council. And then the lands and community and commissioner staff will update the council with applicant names to provide to during a council meeting, which they did. Applicants will be interviewed by the commissioners. Lands and communities will send a survey to current council members for each new applicant. They did that this round. Once the application is closed and all applicants have been interviewed, lands and community staff will provide survey feedback to the commissioners. And I'm not aware of if that's happened yet or not. Staff will then give an update to the council on the next steps of the appointment process. This consists of providing the date of the commissioner's administrative meeting where they will take possible action on appointment. These meetings are always open to the public to attend. So that's the, does that answer? Does that help clarify?
Yep.
Okay,
Sure.
perfect. All right, any other public comments on that item? Clarity on the vacancy appointment process? Okay, moving on to new business. So the Lolo Community Council annual budget for fiscal year 25. Commissioners want to make certain that councils are adequately funded to pay for annual operating expenses. Councils with less than $1,000 in their account will be funded enough to bring them up to a $1,000 balance for fiscal year 2025. The council has prepared its budget report and is requesting $405.69 to bring the account to the $1,000 balance as instructed by the commissioners for operating expenses. Council, I sent that report all to you. Well, it was linked in this agenda here. So at this time, we could either discuss that if anyone has amendments they'd like to offer up, or I would also welcome motion to approve the budget as presented.
I motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right. Any further discussion about the budget? Seeing none. All those in, oh, sorry, go ahead, Marilyn.
I'm sorry, so it seemed to me like the printing amount was a little high. You know, something like that.
Yes, and so basically, and I'll explain that. That's a great point, Marilyn. So I took our budget from previous years, took the same amounts for our meeting room rental, which is $200. Advertising, we've always kind of kept $100 in there for that budget. We've kept $36 in there to pay for our annual, or each month's statements, bank statements. Our PO box rental is now $70, so I kept that. And then I basically took the remainder, you know, that what would have brought us to $1,000 and put it into our printing budget. One, because we are now going to be paying for the printing of the agendas, so we will be reimbursing MARTA for those. And then two, I believe there was some discussion about wanting to have a forum for the candidates this fall. And we would probably want to advertise for that, maybe send out some mailers. So I felt like if we had, you know, a little bit bigger budget there for printing off some of those mailers, might be helpful to prepare for that.
Marilyn,
That makes sense.
Marilyn, when I printed off the agenda for tonight's meeting, I also printed off 10 sign-in sheets, and which I won't have to do now for, you know, close to a year, and the total came to $10.50. So I don't see that being too demonstrable.
Yeah, it does make sense when the explanation about the forum and the printing fees for that, so I forgot about that. So we're good.
Okay. Any other further discussion on the budget? All right, seeing none, all those in favor to approve the budget as presented? Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passed, all those in favor. Okay. Next item is Lolo Community Council election of officers. So I know it feels like we just did this because we just did it in April. But every June following the election is when we are required to elect new officers. So I kept the same language from our April meeting regarding the roles, but to hopefully simplify tonight's process, I put two recommended options here. We could either just have a motion to retain our current officers, or if anyone wants to elect somebody else, I'd welcome that as well. Any discussion or motions that anyone wants to make at this point? Yeah.
I just like to suggest you retain what you have. It's working.
Thanks, Pat.
Steve, you don't want any other positions?
No. I had this discussion a couple months ago too.
So I'd welcome a motion at this point.
I'd motion to keep the same positions as we have.
Any second?
Second.
I'll second that.
Okay. Second. All right. Any further discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor to retain current officers? Aye.
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 Okay, motion passed. Now is the time for public comment on items not on the agenda. Yes.
I did see Superintendent Oliver on the 4th, and he said that free meals will be served to all of the children 18 and under. So if you have community members who would stop by, I know that the library is a public library, so lunch and a book.
Perfect, thank you so much. Any other public comment on items not on the agenda?
So has the council received any comment from local residents about the change in the flood designation by FEMA? I know it has, I don't know if any of you attended the meeting last year with FEMA, and the DNRC is basically who's running it. But you haven't heard any concerns or anything from folks? Okay, because I know it's impacting a significant number of folks around the lake and the lower area. So I just wondered if, I haven't heard anything,
Okay.
but I just wonder if you folks have.
And when does that change take place?
Well, I think, does anybody see, what's it going to be? It's going to be here shortly where they're going to approve it. I think it's the next couple months.
There's an article in today's Missouri.
Okay. So anyway, okay, just ask the question.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and once they approve the draft, then there's the comment period. And then if they still put it in and you don't like it, you can ask for a LOMA exemption from FEMA, but that's quite a pain.
I know Corey isn't here. Fire open burning is still open, but it's only going to be a matter of weeks until it closes. If you have slash piles, do them now while there's still some moisture in the ground.
Thank you.
I'm just curious, is there any way to get some more information about these changes you're talking about in the floodplain?
So,
Who affects and
I
why?
think, Mark, they said you called the county,
Yeah, and there's a link to the maps in the article in today's Missouri. And if you look at the online edition of Missouri.
I mean, there's
That's
like,
the first time that they find it? I mean,
Well, they're adding areas and taking areas out of the old map. So I know when I looked at it today, most of the new ones are Red Fox, there's some on Lakeside, Olive, Gulf, so out that way. They're adding quite a bit in.
they're into it by a half a foot in the floodplain. I know there's significant changes, because I know the Tower, Carewald area in my Senate district is constantly being flooded. And they're going to redraw the maps there. And I know where I live in the Big Flat, there is a significant change there. In fact, my shed is now in the floodplain, my house is not. So, I mean, it's,
Well,
where the
unless
lines
they
are.
change the rules though. Unless they change the rules, Senator Curdy, if you've got any structure in the floodplain, your whole property is considered floodplain
gonna have to check
when you
that
get
out.
insurance.
Yeah. I've been through that horse and pony show before when
Yeah.
we moved there. So,
if you're in the floodplain, how does that change your life other than insurance?
so if you have a mortgage, you have to buy flood insurance.
And I've heard from my insurance agent, it's going up about 700%.
Yeah. So with all the flooding that's going nationwide, some of the insurance rates, and hang on here, it's not necessarily here, but the increase in insurance rates has been significant. Okay?
I know when we had that flood along Lolo Creek because of the ice jam, it came on us quickly, and of course, we're also a weird time of the year. And I called my insurance company because we had, a foot and a half of water at all the doors. And they said, well, you have to get that prior to the flood. And there was
45 days.
How many? 45?
45 days, and the water has to be flowing 3 miles an hour or faster. Okay?
Cloudy skies or blue?
It only has to
So
be.
you gotta throw a piece of wood out, walk along it.
Are they using a 50-year or a 100-year floodplain plan?
It's changing the 100-year floodplain.
Okay,
Yeah,
A
I mean,
1%
it's,
chance
a
of
1%
flood.
flood.
I mean, some of the areas, the change is significant.
Well, if you live in Florida, State
Oh, yeah,
Farm
the
is
whole
no
place is in a
longer
flood zone.
even insuring for water damage.
Not available.
It's not available. Could happen for us in terms of fire damage. That's our biggest threat.
And see, if you remember what happened on the Yellowstone and the Clark Fork 2 years ago, I mean, those things can happen really fast, without any warning whatsoever. So, I mean, the amount of money that is being designated for disaster relief is it's staggering. I mean, so it's something to keep in mind. Again, I'm really surprised that the council hasn't heard anything from folks about, the council making a statement or whatever for the community, to the commissioners about the situation. But
You know, since this is so impacted church-wise, what is the purpose of changing the floodplain location?
So let's go back to the Kierwald Tower Street area. So the river has moved, okay? The river has moved to the south. So as a result, it's putting that area into more of a flood-prone zone. And back when they first did this, the technology was kind of there, but now they use LIDAR, L-I-D-A-R, it's an acronym for whatever. But anyway, so it uses satellite to give a very close and detailed picture of where the floodplain is. So that new technology has really opened up, like I say, a significant larger number of amount of area to be placed into the flood zone.
Although I will tell you that the DNRC has gotten some complaints that by using the LIDAR, it isn't as accurate because there are some inherent flaws in it. Like if you have a wood pile in your yard, it will pick that up when it shouldn't. There's one gentleman that it said that his property was only a foot above the river. It's actually 6 feet. I mean, you just look at it and you know it's not a foot. So the LIDAR isn't accurate, and the reason I'm saying that is because if people don't think their property, the LIDAR measured it correctly, you can get surveyors out there and you can contest being put in the floodplain. So, and I know that the county has also gotten complaints of not notifying people. There's a lot of people that are now being put in here that have never been notified of any of their meetings. So that might be why you guys we aren't up to speed on that.
Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Yeah, one other question. What about the school? Are they going to start building there, or?
You know, I have not heard any updates on the school. Kind of silence, radio silence so far. I would imagine, maybe Anders could speak more to this, but I would imagine it has something to do, you know, with our limited sewer and water capacity right now. Maybe they're waiting for that.
Yeah, I think they have like 50 units or something approved, so they can do a portion of it, but by no means can they do all of the building that they're planning for. So that's probably slowing down.
Well, probably the 50 units has probably sewer permits that were attached to that property.
Yeah.
That's
quite
why they're
likely. Yeah.
allowing that.
Essentially transferring it from the school to.
Any other comments?
I got a question. You're saying that old school is allowed 50 units off that sewer line coming from the school.
I believe that's,
Who's figured this out?
I believe the county.
Or the developer?
Yeah, the county and the developers, they approved them for, I believe, 50 units.
My understanding is the sewer plant's at max right now.
Yep.
That was existing. The new school got 400
400 what?
septic units. That's how many they took up, how many permits they took up with the new school. So the old school stayed with their, I'm sure that's.
Oh, I see what you, how I see how they did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The transfer of the old hookups.
Right.
That the school had originally, yeah.
But the school didn't use it.
Well, they said they did with the amount of kids and everything. They
I
do
see,
it.
okay, gotcha.
With the amount of students and buildings, et cetera, I'm sure that 50
I see.
units were there. Yeah. It just doesn't look like it.
Okay, thanks for that question. Yes.
Yeah, and the Lolo Council, you're more than welcome to invite any of those developers here to the meeting to give a presentation on what they're going to build there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Any other public comments? Okay, informational items. So our next regularly scheduled meeting will be July 9th. And if that's all, I would welcome a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Andrews motions. Second. Anyone second?
I second.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor to adjourn? Aye. Thank you all. Thanks, Marilyn. Thanks, Hannah.
Welcome.